Welcome to Daily English Dose Podcast. Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all our learners joining us today.
Yes, a really warm welcome from my side, too. It's always a pleasure to see you all here, ready to learn and grow with us.
Before we begin, I'm Aisha, and here with me, Daniel. Let's just take a small moment to acknowledge something simple but important. You chose to be here today. That already says something about you.
Exactly. It says you are curious. It says you are open. And most importantly, it says you are willing to grow, even if growth sometimes feels uncomfortable.
Today's conversation is not just about grammar or language or theory. It's about something very human, something we all experience but rarely talk about openly.
Yes, we are talking about fear, specifically the fear of failure and rejection.
And we're not going to treat it like a textbook topic. We're going to talk about it like real people, because every single person in this room, including us, has felt it.
Absolutely. But before we go deeper, let's just ease into the session. How has your week been? Not perfect, I assume.
I don't think perfect weeks exist, Daniel.
True. Maybe manageable weeks exist.
That sounds more realistic. Learners, if your week was a mix of good and bad moments, congratulations, you're normal.
And if your week felt like a mess, also congratulations, you're still normal.
We laugh, but this is important because fear of failure often starts when we think everyone else is doing better than us.
Or when we think we're the only ones struggling. That illusion is dangerous.
Daniel, let's start simple. What do you think people actually fear more, failure or rejection?
Interesting question. I think they're connected, but if I had to choose, I'd say rejection hurts faster, but failure stays longer in your mind.
That's deep. Rejection is like a sudden sting. Failure is like a slow echo.
Exactly. Imagine you apply for a job and you don't get selected. The rejection is immediate, but later the failure story you tell yourself begins to grow.
Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I should not have applied. Maybe I'm not meant for this.
And that maybe becomes a dangerous pattern.
Let me ask our learners something here. Have you ever avoided doing something just because you were afraid you might fail?
Like not raising your hand in class,
Or not applying for a job?
or not trying a new skill because you thought, what if I'm bad at it?
That hesitation is where fear lives.
And the irony is, by avoiding failure, we actually guarantee it in another form. We fail to grow.
That's powerful. Now let's go a little deeper. Daniel, do you remember a time when you personally feared failure?
Oh, many times. But I'll share one. When I was younger, I had to give a public presentation. It wasn't even a huge audience, maybe 20 people, but I was terrified.
What were you afraid of exactly?
That I would forget my words, that people would laugh, that I would stand there silently and look foolish.
And did it happen?
I actually did forget a line. For a few seconds, I froze.
That must have felt awful in the moment.
It did. But something surprising happened. No one laughed. No one judged me. One teacher even nodded encouragingly, and I continued.
So the fear was bigger than the reality.
Much bigger. And that's the pattern with fear of failure. It exaggerates outcomes.
Learners, listen carefully. Fear is not always truth. It is often imagination dressed as truth.
That's a strong line. Now, let's shift to rejection. Aisha, have you experienced rejection in a way that changed your thinking?
Yes, I remember applying for something I really wanted, a training opportunity. I was confident, or at least I thought I was.
And then?
I got rejected. No explanation, just a short email.
That must have felt personal.
It did. I started questioning everything, my skills, my effort, my worth. It felt like a door closing loudly.
And how did you deal with it?
Initially, not well. I avoided applying for similar opportunities for a while. That was my mistake.
That's very honest.
But later, I realized something important. That rejection was not a definition of me. It was just a result in a specific moment.
That separation is difficult but crucial.
Yes, we attach identity to outcomes. That's where the pain becomes deeper.
Let's pause on that idea for a moment. Identity versus outcome.
If I fail an exam, I say I failed. But what I should say is I did not get the result I wanted in that exam.
Small shift in language, big shift in mindset.
Exactly. Now let's bring this closer to everyday learners. Imagine a student who wants to answer in class but stays silent.
Because they fear giving the wrong answer.
And what happens over time?
They stop participating, they stop trying, and eventually they believe they are not smart enough.
But the truth is, they never gave themselves enough chances to be wrong and learn.
And that is the hidden cost of fear. It removes learning opportunities.
Daniel, let's add a real-life story here, something relatable.
Okay, think of someone applying for a new job in a different country. They are qualified but unsure.
They hesitate to apply.
Because they think, what if I'm not selected?
So they don't apply at all.
Months pass, they see others getting opportunities, they feel stuck.
And later they say, I never got a chance. But actually, they didn't give themselves a chance.
That's the hidden truth.
Fear often disguises itself as practicality.
I'm just being realistic, people say.
But sometimes realism becomes an excuse to avoid discomfort.
Let's explore something deeper now. Why do you think rejection hurts so much?
Because humans are social beings, acceptance feels like survival.
That's true. Historically, being rejected by a group meant being alone, which was dangerous.
So our brain still reacts strongly to rejection, even in modern situations.
Exactly. But the situation is not life-threatening. It just feels that way.
That mismatch creates anxiety.
Now, let's talk about failure. Why is failure so feared in education and career?
Because we're trained to see failure as final, not as feedback.
That's important. Failure should be information, not identity.
Imagine if every failure came with a message, try a different approach.
Instead of, you are not enough.
The first one builds growth, the second destroys confidence.
Let's bring in another example. A learner preparing for an English speaking interview.
They practice alone, they do well.
But in front of real people, they hesitate.
They stumble on words.
And later they say, I am not fluent.
But fluency is not a fixed state, it's a developing skill.
One moment does not define ability.
Learners, if you remember only one idea today, remember this: one failure is not your identity.
And one rejection is not your destination.
Daniel, let's challenge a common belief. People think confident individuals don't fear failure.
That's false. Confident people fear it too. They just don't let it stop them.
So confidence is not absence of fear.
It is movement despite fear.
That changes everything.
It does. Now, let's imagine a learner who wants to improve English speaking.
They know they will make mistakes.
But they still speak.
They feel embarrassed sometimes.
But they continue.
Over time, what happens?
They improve, not because fear disappeared, but because action continued.
That's the real formula.
Action over avoidance.
Let's also talk about rejection in relationships because that's something many people silently struggle with.
Yes, asking for friendship, expressing feelings, even simple social interactions.
Fear of being ignored or disliked.
And so people stay silent.
But silence protects them from rejection and also from connection. That's the cost.
Have you ever noticed how children behave differently?
Yes, they try without overthinking.
They fall, they laugh, they try again.
They don't label themselves as failures.
That mindset gets lost over time.
Because we start attaching judgment to outcomes.
So the question is, can we unlearn that behavior?
I believe we can, but it requires awareness.
And practice.
And patience.
Let's go back to rejection for a moment. Aisha, what helped you recover from that rejection you mentioned earlier?
Honestly, reapplying, but with a different mindset.
What changed?
I stopped expecting acceptance as proof of worth. I started seeing it as a matching process.
That's a healthy shift.
Yes, not every opportunity is meant for every person.
And that's not rejection of value, just mismatch of need.
Exactly. Daniel, what advice would you give someone who is afraid to start something because of failure?
I would say, start small, but start.
Simple but powerful.
Because fear grows in silence and in action, but it reduces with experience.
even imperfect experience.
Especially imperfect experience.
Learners, imperfection is not your enemy. Avoidance is.
And growth rarely feels comfortable at the beginning.
We're coming to a deeper realization here. Fear of failure is not just about outcome.
It's about self-perception.
Fear of rejection is not just about others.
It's about how we interpret ourselves through others.
That's why this topic is so important.
Because it affects everything: learning, career, relationships, confidence.
Daniel, let's end this part with one reflective thought for our learners, but not a conclusion.
Maybe something like this. What if the fear you feel is not a stop sign, but a sign that you are standing at the edge of growth?
And what if failure is not a verdict, but a direction?
And what if rejection is not an ending, but a redirection?
Now, let's ask a more important question. What do we do when fear shows up in real time?
Because it will show up. That's the truth. Even confident people feel it.
So the goal is not to eliminate fear, the goal is to respond differently.
Exactly. Let's take a simple example. A learner is asked to speak in English in front of others.
Their heart starts beating faster.
Their mind says, what if I make mistakes?
Now, in that moment, there are two possible responses.
One is avoidance. Stay silent, sit back, and let the moment pass.
The other is participation, even if the voice shakes.
And that single decision changes everything over time.
Let's go deeper into this. Why does avoidance feel so easy in that moment?
Because it gives immediate relief. You avoid discomfort right now.
But what does it cost later?
Confidence, growth, and opportunities.
So avoidance is short-term comfort, long-term limitation.
And action is short-term discomfort, long-term strength.
That's a very important contrast.
Now let's connect this to rejection. Aisha, imagine someone wants to apply for a job again after being rejected before.
Many people hesitate here,
Yes, they think, what if it happens again?
so they don't apply.
But let's break that thought. What is actually happening?
They are predicting a future rejection based on a past event.
And action is short-term discomfort, long-term strength.
That's a very important contrast.
Now let's connect this to rejection. Aisha, imagine someone wants to apply for a job again after being rejected before.
Many people hesitate here,
Yes, they think, what if it happens again?
so they don't apply.
But let's break that thought. What is actually happening?
They are predicting a future rejection based on a past event.
And that prediction is not always accurate.
Exactly. Past rejection is information, not prophecy.
That's powerful. Learners, remember this line.
Now, let's bring in a real-life, relatable scenario.
Okay, imagine a student named Sarah. She's good at English but afraid of speaking.
She avoids conversations in class.
Her teacher encourages her, but she stays silent.
Why?
Because she had one experience where she was corrected publicly.
That one moment created fear.
So now she avoids speaking altogether.
But what is the hidden result?
She never improves her speaking skill.
And later she says, I'm not good at English.
Even though the real issue was not ability, it was avoidance.
That's a very important distinction.
Now let's shift to something practical. How do we handle fear in the moment?
Let's discuss a simple approach. First, acknowledge the fear.
Not deny it.
Yes, because when you deny fear, it becomes stronger.
So instead of saying, I'm fine, you say, I feel nervous, but I can try.
That small honesty reduces internal pressure.
Second step, focus on action, not outcome.
Meaning,
Instead of thinking, what if I fail, think, what is the next sentence I need to say?
that shifts attention from fear to task.
And fear cannot dominate when attention is focused.
Third step, accept imperfection.
This is very important. You are not aiming for perfect performance.
You are aiming for participation and progress.
Exactly.
Now let's apply this to rejection scenarios.
Imagine someone sending a job application.
They are afraid of rejection.
Instead of thinking, I must be selected, they think, I am expressing my profile.
That removes pressure.
Yes, because selection is not fully in your control.
But application is.
And focusing on what you can control reduces anxiety.
Let's talk about something deeper now, the identity trap.
Oh yes, this is where many people struggle.
When failure happens, people say, I am a failure.
But that is not correct language.
Correct version?
I experienced a failure.
That difference seems small, but it is psychologically huge.
Because one describes identity, the other describes experience.
Learners, pay attention here. Your actions are not your identity.
Now let's add another real-life situation.
A person starts learning driving.
On the first day, they stall the vehicle.
They feel embarrassed.
They think, I'm not good at driving.
But what is reality?
They're a beginner.
Exactly. Skill level, not identity.
And beginners are supposed to make mistakes.
Now let's move to rejection in social life.
This is often unspoken but very common.
Yes, for example, trying to make new friends.
Someone smiles at you and you try to start a conversation.
But they respond briefly or walk away.
That moment feels like rejection.
And what does the mind do?
It generalizes. People don't like me.
But is that true?
No, it's one interaction, not a global truth.
That's how fear spreads, through generalization.
Now let's explore a key idea, resilience.
What is resilience in simple terms?
It is the ability to continue after discomfort.
Not avoiding discomfort.
Yes, continuing despite it.
Now let's talk about mindset shift now.
One powerful shift is changing what if I fail to what if I learn.
That changes emotional direction completely.
Another shift is I must not be rejected to I may face rejection and I will still continue.
That is emotional maturity.
Now let's discuss something practical for learners, how to build confidence slowly.
Step 1. Small exposure.
Start speaking in small groups.
Step 2. Repeat exposure.
Do it again and again until fear reduces.
Step 3. Reflection.
After each attempt, ask what went well, what can improve.
Not why am I bad?
Exactly. Reflection should be constructive, not destructive.
Now let's connect failure with learning again.
Imagine learning English vocabulary.
You forget words.
That is not failure, that is memory training,
But people label it as failure.
which stops progress unnecessarily.
Now let's go a little emotional here. Daniel, why do you think people fear rejection so deeply?
Because rejection feels personal even when it is not.
Yes, but is it always personal?
No, many decisions are based on timing, competition, needs, not personal worth.
But emotionally, it still feels personal.
That's the challenge. We are emotional interpreters of neutral events.
Now let's slowly bring everything together for this part.
We've discussed responses, mindset shifts, real-life examples, and practical steps.
But before we conclude fully, let's reflect on one important idea.
Fear of failure asks, what will I lose if I try?
Fear of rejection asks, what will others think of me?
But growth asks a different question.
And what is that question?
What will I become if I keep trying?
That question changes direction completely.
And that is where we will close this part.
We'll build a fearless learning mindset in daily life.
Not a life without fear, but a life not controlled by fear.
We'll end it there for now. Bye, everyone.